listening prophets. Prophets like Samuel, he started as a young kid by listening and learning to say, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." And then having a conversation with God. I'm going to talk about conversation today, a conversation around death. They're not easy conversations, are they, to have? I had a call on Friday morning from a good friend of ours saying, "Wes, can you go visit my husband? He is about to die." And so I went up yesterday and she said, "Just make sure he's ready to go to heaven." How do you have those conversations? You know, as Pentecostals, we're believing for people to be healed right up until the moment they die, and then we're at the funeral and we're expecting them to come out of their coffin. But there actually comes a time where we need to be prepared to enter the kingdom of heaven. And so yesterday was a conversation with him, and I felt like he was a bit of a Lazarus, because this is actually the third time he's been at death's door over many years in doing that. Communion is a conversation around death. It's a conversation around letting go. You know, yesterday I had a conversation with my friend. How's things with your kids? How's things with your wife? How's things with your grandkids? How's things with your God? What's God saying to you? Are you ready to go? Communion is a great time of reflecting and remembering and saying, "God, how's things? How's things with me? How's things with you? Is there anything you want to speak to me about?" And we need to learn to linger longer during these times, not to rush in. And I want to quickly share from 1 John 20, verses 11 to 18. It's the story of Mary at the tomb. She got up to do the burial things, the practical things that had to be done. She went to the tomb early, but the stone had been removed. She quickly ran back to tell the other disciples, and Peter and John just ran in, saw that Jesus was gone, and ran back. But Mary didn't. She stayed. She stayed at the tomb. She was weeping. You know, at a time of death you weep. But because she stayed and she lingered, she had an encounter with the angel. And then she had an encounter with Jesus. In verse 15, Jesus said, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it that you're looking for?" Thinking that he was the gardener, she didn't recognize him. How many times are we so in a desperate situation and needing an answer from God, but we don't actually recognize Jesus turning up and providing the answer to you? She thought he was the gardener. And so she started having a go at him. She said, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've put him and I'll go get him." But Jesus said, "Mary." He whispered her name. She knew. I know that voice. I know. That's how Jesus calls to me. And she turned around to him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Can you imagine that? Can you hear Jesus calling out your name this morning? He's calling out your name. Jesus said, "Don't hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead and tell my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord." And she told him that he had said these things to her. Mary lingered longer. Mary had that encounter with God. Can you imagine the healing that came in Mary as that took place? But she didn't keep it to herself. She went out and told others. She was in immense pain because of the death of Jesus. But yet Jesus stepped in and healed. So this morning, as we take the bread and we take the cup, Jesus is whispering your name. He's calling your name to have an encounter with him.